Hello and welcome to another episode of The Sovereign Room. I'm your host, Sarah Elsherbeni, Naturopathic Doctor, Feminine Embodiment Guide, and Somatic Facilitator. This is your space to come home to your body, reclaim your voice, and heal the nervous system patterns keeping you in survival mode so you can trust yourself again, feel safe in your own skin, and lead your life, relationships, and business from sovereignty instead of self-abandonment. I am so excited you're here. Come sit with me inside the Sovereign Room. Okay, so today's episode is a little different for me and it's a little spicy, but I want to talk about a season of my life where I did everything quote unquote right for my nervous system and it still wasn't enough. And I think a lot of you are going to relate to this big time. So with that being said, today we're going to be talking about nervous system healing, and I want to talk about it from a more nuanced place because I think nervous system regulation has become one of those phrases that everyone is using now, right? Breathwork, shaking, dancing, meditation, cold plunges. I got a lot to say about that. Somatic practices, morning routines, right? And I love a lot of those things. They can be beautiful, they can be supportive, and they can bring us back into our bodies in a really powerful way. But I also think that we need to have a little bit of a more honest conversation because sometimes you can be doing the breathing, the journaling, going on walks, and trying to rest. You can be doing all the things people told you will help your nervous system and still feel like you're at the bottom of the freaking well. Right? Still not sleeping, still clenching your jaw, still holding that tension in your pelvis, still snapping at the small things, still doom scrolling because your body does not know what else to do with the discomfort that you're feeling, right? Still feeling very sluggish, heavy, unmotivated, and disconnected from yourself. And when that happens, it doesn't mean you failed at nervous system healing. It just means that your body needs a little more support. And this is what I really want to talk about: the nuance, the shame, the foundations, the extra support, and what it actually means to listen to your body instead of trying to force it into regulation. Okay, so for so much of my life, y'all, I was constantly busy. The stimulation, the doing, school, work, studying, tasks, people, plans. I was always on the move, girl. Everybody was like, where's Sarah now? What's Sarah doing now? I was rarely home. I would go to school and I would work. And when I'm at school, I'd be there all day until it was time to go home to go to bed. Literally. Like, my body did not even have the language for rest. Words like rest and relaxation felt very foreign to me. And I come from a generation of women where rest and relaxation was not something that we knew or understood. And so my body just knew how to go, go, go. It knew how to push. It knew how to complete a task and immediately ask, like, okay, what's next? Right? It knew how to keep going because this is what I had trained for, right? I trained to do it for 20 plus years. Busy became my new standard. It became so familiar. So did stimulation. Productivity became tied to my worth. I graded my worth on how productive I was. So my nervous system did not know what to do with stillness. And I remember being in that season where I was between school and working part-time, and then my work schedule stopped matching my school schedule. I left one job because it no longer fit. So then I found another job at Walgreens. And then I needed to go to Egypt that summer to go visit my grandma because she wasn't doing well. But I had just started this job at Walgreens and I wasn't there long enough. So I couldn't get the PTO. So I ended up having to quit. So I went to Egypt for 3 months. And even while I was there during the last month before I was flying back, I was already there talking to friends, applying to jobs, trying to find a job because I was already trying to make sure that I was set up for something when I returned. Even when I had the space, my body was still scanning for the next thing. Like, girl, what are we going to do? That is what chronic busyness can do. You can technically be resting, but your nervous system is still bracing. You can have nothing scheduled, but your body still feels like it's supposed to be producing. You can be lying down, but your mind is already making this next plan. And the undoing is not always going to be cute. Okay, I'm in that right now as I've graduated, right? Like, it's not always going to be candles and like stretching and this beautiful morning routine that we all dream of. Sometimes it feels like withdrawal from the only pace that your body has ever known. It's kind of wild, but that's literally what it can feel like. And at some point, your body, my body, started speaking a lot louder, where it wasn't in this like one very dramatic moment, right? It's more like this dull, achy, gnawing pain feeling that's just constantly buzzing that something was not right. You know, when you have this pain and it's just kind of a nuisance at this point. It's not painful, but you can feel it, like it's there and it's just like buzzing at you. I was agitated, getting frustrated easily, no motivation. I was tired all the time. I would doom scroll and then feel even worse, felt sluggish, heavy, slow, getting headaches. And emotionally, I felt like I was slipping into this depression slump again. And the hardest thing with that is that when you are in it, it can be so difficult to tell the difference between I need rest and something deeper is happening here. Because sometimes you do need rest. We all do. But sometimes your body has been begging for you to stop. But finally, when you do stop months later, you realize that you're not actually recovering. You're sinking. You're at the bottom of this well. And at that point, sometimes something needs to change. And for me, there was this moment where a moment of realization that I deserve a life that feels so different than this. And I did not want to keep living in a body that I hated. I didn't want to keep living in a body where it was either pushing, collapsing, and numbing. I did not want my nervous system to be only wired for survival. I did not want my worth to constantly be attached to how much I could get done. And I had to be honest with myself that the practices I was doing was not enough. And that can be hard to admit, right? The practices that I was doing was not enough by themselves in that season. Because you've gotten to a life where if you can't get the simple basic, and I use this very lightly, right? Like if you can't get the simple daily living things around you done, a breathwork practice isn't going to cure all for you, right? A yoni egg practice is not going to get you out of nervous system, bracing. All of these different things that are tried and true and 100% so supportive, and I believe in them, is not going to shift your nervous system out of chronic dysregulation if you're not even able to get the basic things like eating, drinking, sleeping, right? All of those things are foundations that are super important. And if you can't get those done, I'm sorry, but like a simple meditation, breath work, or yoni egg practice is not going to get you out of that survival mode. Is it going to be helpful? 100%. But at that point, we got to get back to the basics, babe. We got to help get you up there, right? And then, those practices are supportive and helpful and you can do those, right? And also, it's not as simple as a breath work is going to get you out of 20 years of, chronic nervous system dysregulation, Miss Hyper Independent. So this also showed up for me, as always, because I love the synchronicity of the universe and the experiences that we go through in life, right? This also showed up for me clinically with a patient, right? They were doing so many things that people say to do for nervous system regulation: the blackout curtains, the wind down routine, the sleeping, the reducing blue light, breathing, breath work, all of the different things that you can think of for nervous system regulation. They were doing that. They were doing the breathing. They were doing the routines, the lifestyle practices, the things on paper, right? The perfect textbook patient that is doing all the nervous system things, but they were still not getting good quality sleep. And they could feel in their body the anxiety, the dysregulation, the not being able to quiet the mind, all of these different things. And I could feel their frustration, right? That specific kind of frustration where someone is saying, I'm doing everything, so why is my body still not responding? Like, send help, please. And I think that's such an important moment for us because it's so easy for us as practitioners, coaches, doctors, or wellness spaces to say, just breathe, just meditate, just regulate. It's simple as that. Just hand it out like candy. But if somebody's body's been so dysregulated for years, they are still living inside of an environment or a season that keeps sending stress signals to their body. It's not always as simple as giving them a breathwork exercise, right? Sleep, food, blood sugar, minerals, nutrients, movement, light, environment, relationships, workload, supplements, meditations, medical support, emotional support. And sometimes we need to adjust our expectations because we often expect our nervous system healing to be like this grand before and after that everybody paints this picture. I see it all the time on social media, and nobody ever shows like the in-between moments, the liminal spaces, the progress. They're just like, oh, I lost 50 pounds. I'm like, oh, really? How long? What did you do? And then they gatekeep and they don't tell you. And I'm like, girl, it didn't happen overnight. Like, come on now. It's not one day I'm dysregulated and the next day I'm this like perfectly like soft, regulated, feminine being. That's not the reality. It's not one day you're dysregulated, you do the practice, and then now all of a sudden you're calm. A lot of the time it's like simpler little progresses that you notice. Your jaw is not as clenched as often. You notice that your pelvis is not gripping as much. You don't snap as easily, right? You recover faster after a hard conversation. You sleep 30 minutes longer, right? You sit in silence for 5 minutes without reaching for your phone. You can feel an emotion without immediately like spiraling or trying to numb it. Those are little changes that also count. But sometimes those small changes, even with those small changes, your body needs more support, and that's okay too. Like with this particular patient, I was putting together this treatment plan, went to talk to my attendings about it, and I was like, I think this is what we can do. And I was thinking about the supplement, all the things. And granted, because this was a new patient, a lot of times we're not going to want to like fire hose them with all the things that they could be doing. I'm still getting to know this patient. We're building this relationship, and it's so easy for us to want to throw all the things, right, in a time and place. But also the nuance is that, I put together this thing. We kind of agreed that we'll start with the foundational things first to kind of get them into a space of stability as we get to know this patient. Because again, multifaceted, right? Yes, this patient has a job they cannot leave, but there's also other things that in this picture that are going on that we want to dive deep into, right? Like MCAS and all of these other, complex things that also play a role, but we can't dive into all of that in one visit, So it's like we got to start stepwise and come back and do all of these things. Well, so I came back and I'm like, giving this patient the treatment plan. We're going to start with foundational things, and then we're going to come back, and then we're going to dive deeper into this other stuff and all of that. And I could feel the patient's like despair and frustration of like, but I'm doing all of these things already. Like this is, I do this, like I know all of these things, and it's still not like supporting my body, And it can be hard because, again, like I said earlier, when your body's been chronically dysregulated and there's multiple stimuluses happening, right, between a job and then like other health things that might be happening, it's not as simple as like, here's your nervous system dysregulation plan, come back in a week or two and let's dive deeper into X, Y, and Z kind of thing, right? Sometimes we need to, and we get to recognize that a supplement or a medication can be supportive, right? And that is okay too. And that's what happened with this patient, right? And I was like, okay, well, wait, let me go chat and we'll come back and let me get. So we ended up recommending a supplement that I really loved for this patient. And granted, I graduated and have not been able to see them again after to see how that supplement worked or if they needed extra support or whatever. But, it's things like that where we get to just like listen a little bit deeper in doing that. And it's not always going to be perfect. It's not always going to be like that, right? There's going to be situations where you're not able to do that, but like listen a little bit deeper. I think as doctors, practitioners, facilitators, coaches, etc., like I think our gift and magic is to be able to listen a little bit deeper to your clients and your patients, and also like listening and tuning into their body as well. Like, what is your patient saying? What is their body saying? And like being able to really deeply attune to that. And that is a magic gift of ours. But for me, like back to like my story, for me, I had to recognize that I had a lot on my plate. It was not that I was not doing anything. I was doing the work. I did the breath work. I'm doing somatic practices. I had shifted a lot in my life, but I stepped into a season of life where it was busy and it was a lot. A lot was shifting. I got to a breaking point where I realized like I need something else right now. Like I can't. I'm like sleeping all day, not wanting to eat. My sleep is ridiculous. Like I'm just like tired and busy and exhausted and like I don't know what to do anymore. And that was hard for me to admit as the one who's lived her life being the strong person and being able to handle so much, right? And always constantly having a full plate, right? Like at some point, I prided myself in being this multitasking queen of being able to hold all of the things. It was really hard for me to admit. And there was a part of me that was also resistant to going to see a doctor. In the 5 years that I've been here, I did not have a PCP, y'all. Okay. I was not seeing a primary care doctor or doing anything. I was like trying to like do everything myself. And being Miss Hyper Independent, like sometimes we need a little support. Even if you're in medical school and you're like becoming this doctor, like you still need a doctor as well. And that's okay. And that was hard for me to admit because like I just felt very resistant in like seeing a doctor. And there was a part of me that also felt shame around needing extra support because there was a part of me that had stopped a lot of my supplements. I stopped everything. My self-care was few and far in between. And there was a part of me that thought like I should be able to do this with all the tools that I have. And that is such a sneaky place for shame to live because then you feel like a failure at that time, especially when you're in the wellness world, especially when you're being trained in natural medicine, right? Like, why else did I go to naturopathic medical school? To heal naturally and help other people heal naturally in a way, especially when you are someone who believes so deeply in the body's intelligence to heal. Because needing medication or extra support, again, can start to feel like some kind of personal failure, especially in a social media world where you got people demonizing supplements, people demonizing medications, people saying like all you need is nutrition and food and all of these different things. And it's just like, whoa, okay. I believe in a lot of that stuff, right? I believe in supplements. I believe in food as medicine. Like this is the core of a lot of things. And also there's a time and place for medications. There's a time and place where we need a lot of support. And like, let's be honest, our food system now is not what it was before. So we are in an age where people need to supplement. Do I think a lot of people are being over supplemented out there? Yes. I used to be one of those people. And that's why I stopped a lot of my supplements. I was just like, I'm going to go see a doctor. Like, let's get some blood work. Let's see what my body actually needs. I got a DNA test, all of these things. Like, what does my body need? More personalized care is what we need and what I thrive and love. And so but it was not failure, right? I was just like listening to my body. I was listening and I was like, okay, let's go get some support. Let's figure out what that looks like. I actually ended up doing genetic testing, which is so cool, really cool, especially if you're considering getting on medication to support your mental health. It's really cool because it tests your genetics and then it tells you which types of medications work best with your body and how your body metabolizes certain things. And so I knew that if I was going to consider some sort of external extra support, I did this before and I had a really bad experience and I was just like, I'm not doing this again. Like, no. Okay. So I was like, I ended up doing genetic testing because I wanted to understand how my body may respond to certain things. I wanted to be thoughtful. I wanted support that actually made sense for my body. And what's really cool is that when I talked to this doctor about reviewing my genetic testing and all these things, right, she said something that really helped me shift my perspective and actually soften a little bit, right? They said this can be a right now thing, and it doesn't mean that you'll be on a SSRI forever. It's just to support you now. And I needed to hear that because I was very against it. Like, I'm not a fan of pharmaceuticals. I'm not a fan of a lot of SSRIs and, all of these different medications, especially that. I'm so passionate about mental health. And I think the mental health, space needs our support, especially as naturopathic doctors. And also, I needed to hear that because sometimes we make support mean as permanent, especially when it comes to mental health, right? We make it mean that we're broken, that we failed, that my body's not doing what it intended to do, or it's not working well. And we make it mean that all the healing work that we have been doing did not count. But in that season, my body needed extra support, and choosing that support was part of nervous system healing too, right? And so going on an SSRI did not solve all my problems, y'all. Okay, let's just put it out there. Like, it did not magically just make my life easier. It did not do the work for me, but it gave my body a little more resiliency, a little more resiliency is the word that's coming through. So we're going to stick with that, right? It gave my body something to help be more resilient in being able to get these things done. Like, it gave me enough steadiness to actually do what needed to be done. And for that season, it mattered. I was close to graduation, y'all. This was like 3 months before graduation. I remember looking at everything that I still had to finish and feeling so behind, y'all. Like, I had 4 case papers to get done. I had like a bunch of patient contact hours, clinic hours I had to make up, a bunch of CPOs. And for those who don't know what CPOs are, they're just like clinical proficiency objectives that we check off in clinic that just basically, qualify like, okay, you did this, you were able to explain this to a patient, et cetera, all these different things. I had a bunch, okay? And I just had a lot that I had to get done. And I was just like, I need help. I can't get this, but between asking for help, getting support, setting up a plan, and by the grace of God, y'all, I got it done. I graduated. And even in the 2-week grace period after, like, I feel how much has shifted for me in being able to get everything done. Community ed hours, patient contact hours, and clinic hours. Like, I was doing the math, y'all, and I was like, there's no way I'm going to get these patient contact hours done in 2 weeks. Like, I think I had like 30 something. And like, by the grace of whatever, like God, universe, everything, like in that last week, I was like, wait, I only have 2 more? Wow. Okay. Give me a plan and your girl will get it done. Like, wow. Like, I feel like the medication just gave me a little more space, right? Enough space to really start bringing other practices back in, acupuncture, nourishment, rest, somatic practices, things that I believe in, things that support me. But now my body has a little more capacity to receive them. And I think that is the piece that I want people to understand, is that sometimes extra support does not replace your healing practices. Sometimes it helps your body come online enough to actually benefit from them. And that was my experience. I became a more like balanced version of myself, strong-willed, still devoted, still me. That was one of the things I was like really worried about. I wanted to still be me. I still wanted to feel my emotions. I still wanted to process through these things. The goal was not to numb it all out, but I became a less trapped inside the all or nothing push and collapse version of myself, a less ashamed of needing help, more willing to let my body receive the support in the form that it actually needed. And so if you're listening to this and you have been trying to regulate your nervous system, I want you to listen to your body, okay? Really listen to it, because everyone can tell you to breathe. Everyone can tell you to shake, dance, journal, meditate. And those things can be super supportive for you. But if your body's not online enough to receive them, that does not mean that you are doing anything wrong or that you're doing it wrong. Because I know people do that, well, you're doing it wrong. And like, no, bitch, you're not. Sorry for the language, but no, it's just your body's been through a lot and we gotta work through it a little bit. And we gotta give our body support, give ourselves capacity to work with this, and we gotta work with our body, right? And it may mean that you need support. It may mean that support looks like blood work, looks like supplements, therapy, medication, doctor, acupuncture, eating enough food. Okay, because girl, I sure as hell was not eating enough food, I could tell you that. Maybe it's getting out of the environment that keeps dysregulating you, if you can, obviously. Maybe it's talking to someone who can actually see the full picture, right? Because it can be so hard for us to try to see it all when we're looking in the rear view mirror. Okay, sometimes talking to someone else and getting another picture, another perspective can be supportive. Somatic practices are not the end-all be-all of nervous system healing. As much as I love them as a somatic facilitator, I love somatic practices, I love the body, I love myofascial work. I think the body is wildly intelligent and there's so many beautiful, powerful tools that we can use. But your body's a whole system. And healing means working with your body, not against it. And I will say it again, your body is so wildly intelligent. It has carried you through so much. And if there's a nudge inside of you that's saying something is off, like I need help, please do not shame that voice, because that nudge may be the body asking to be listened to. And so if you are in this place, I would start here. Look at the foundations. Are you eating enough? Are you sleeping? Are you drinking water? Are you getting sunlight? Are you giving your body minerals, protein, fat, carbs, movement, steadiness, all of these different things, right? Are you asking your nervous system to regulate while your actual life is like still flooding it with so much stress? Second, get a second pair of eyes. Talk to a doctor, practitioner, therapist, your coach, a friend, like someone who you trust, who can help you see what you cannot see. Because when you are in the middle of it, in the thick of it, double C, right? It's hard to see the full picture. It's like trying to drive while only looking in the rear view mirror. You have blind spots. We all do. And extra support can help fill those gaps for us. Thirdly, get curious about what kind of support your body's actually asking for. Maybe it's not more breath work. Maybe it's lab work. Maybe it's supplements. Maybe it's a medication. Maybe it's taking something off your plate. Maybe it's asking for help. Maybe it's resting without immediately trying to turn rest into another productive task. Fourth, take what serves you, leave what doesn't. You are allowed to get another opinion. You're allowed to ask questions. You're allowed to be discerning, and you're allowed to choose support without handing your authority, your agency, and your sovereignty away. That is the nuance. A lot of times I think when we are asking for support, we're deciding to go see someone for support. We think like it's an end all be all and like we have to listen to them, and we suddenly just, give away our agency and things like that. No. Like there's a nuance. You get to ask for support, and you do not have to reject conventional medicine to honor your body. You do not have to reject natural medicine to receive medication. It's not an all or nothing. It's not this or that. Why can't that coexist together? The soul, spirit, natural medicine, and science. Spirit and science together. This is why I love blending both of them, right? You don't have to choose one identity and abandon the other. You get to be this whole multi-dimensional, multifaceted whole body with a whole range of support available to you. So nervous system healing is not about becoming this woman who never needs help. It's not about proving that you can breathe your way through everything. It's not about performing regulation while your body is quietly asking you for more. Sometimes nervous system healing looks like lying on the floor with your hand on your belly. Sometimes it looks like a walk. Sometimes it looks like acupuncture. Sometimes it looks like crying in your car, and sometimes it looks like getting blood work, supplements, medications, and finally telling someone, I'm not okay. I need help. Please help. And there's no shame in that. Your body's not failing you. Your body's communicating with you, and you're learning how to listen with enough humility to receive the kind of support this season is asking you for. So thank you for being here. I appreciate you all for listening to this conversation. This has been a conversation that's been on my heart for a while, and it feels so great to talk about this with you all. And I really hope that you received wisdom and insights and whatever message you were meant to receive through this episode. I hope it landed with so much love and so much warmth and healing. Until next time, I'll see you guys next week. Thank you for tuning into another episode of The Sovereign Room. If this conversation gave you language, permission, or even one big deep exhale, share it with a woman in your life who is also learning how to come home to herself. And if you haven't already, follow the podcast, leave a rating, and subscribe so more women can find their way into this room. New episodes drop every Wednesday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Until next time, keep coming home to your body, your voice, and yourself.